Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do another new one here, once again based on one of your new suggestions. This one having to do with a cryptid that's located there in the wild landscapes of Alaska. So how about that? So many of my cryptids tend to involve other parts of the world. Here we have one that's part of the United States. Those of you that are there in Alaska, you might have some more information associated with this cryptid, mainly because it is very elusive, almost to the point that it's almost a mythical figure. But it does have some traits reminiscent of all-stars involving like the world of Bigfoot. More on that here in a moment. But you're looking at a picture or representation of it now. Has a very unique name as well. It's known as the Urayuli. So let's go ahead and let's share all this information associated with this cryptid. And then as always, I'll give my own thoughts and opinions on it too. So what is this Urayuli? Well, once again, it's characterized by its traits being very similar to that of a Bigfoot. So just imagine your average Bigfoot, and that's essentially what this Urayuli is. In fact, the actual translation of it means the words hairy man. And so that gives you an idea essentially of how linked it is to the world of Bigfoots, because we all know that Bigfoots also have lots of hair on them. But yes, it is a very, very tall creature. It's considered having a towering height. It has this shaggy fur that's reminiscent of its main trait, in other words. And then also it has these eyes that are considered luminescent. So these are eyes that can be seen in the dark, or maybe if you're lucky enough, you get to see them during the daytime as well. And then also they have a very, very unique cry. It's known as a high-pitched cry, and it's resembling more on the lines of a loon. So if you hear something like that out there in the wilderness of Alaska, specifically southwestern Alaska, then you know you're in the vicinity of a Urayuli. But by far the biggest difference associated with this and your average Bigfoot are those arms. Apparently these arms are very outstretched. In fact, it's almost to the point where it's almost like an orangutan. They reach down all the way down to the creature's ankles, which is again something very unique to it because no other Bigfoot-like creature has that type of characteristic. So if you see that, you'll know that you're definitely looking at an Urayuli. But other than that, as far as the mystery and where it comes from, it's this. It's ingrained within the local folklore of some of the communities there in Southwest Alaska. In fact, there's a community there called the Yup'ik. I'm saying that correctly, Yup'ik. And they've had so many not encounters, but so much generations of lore tied to this creature that, again, it's more along the lines of a cultural heritage there, mixed in with its mythical figure, mixed in with it being known for who knows how many generations. But the origin of this creature is almost tragic. It is said that if you run into an Urayuli, you're actually looking at the remnants of a lost child. Can you believe that? The idea is that this lost child, whoever this was a regular child somewhere there within that community, and then they ended up getting lost. And when that happened deep in the wilderness out there in Alaska, there was no hope for them, but somehow, some way, they in turn transform into this giant hairy being, whatever this cryptid is. So it's a little bit of a tragic tale as far as its origins, but you can also look at it in a more positive stance because it seems like it's a link to both the mystery and majesty of Alaska's environment. It's the idea that this environment is in turn almost protecting this child, converting it into this Urayuli, and then that way it survives, and it survives for who knows how long afterward, as opposed to it just remaining a child, and then who knows how a missing child, how long they would have lasted out there otherwise. But yeah, again, its locale there is in the south areas of Alaska. In fact, if you wanted to get even more specific, you can go to an area called Lake Iliamna. So if you go there to that spot, that's apparently where these creatures are located. The good news, though, is this is a creature that is considered very, very peaceful. They are very mystifying. Like, in other words, it's very hard to run into them. But if you do, the idea is that this is a creature that is by itself, keeps to itself, does not cause any harm. It is otherwise very, very peaceful. Maybe even when someone sees it, it in turn just runs away to ensure that it does not cause any harms to others. Again, very reminiscent if it follows the idea that its origin is that of a child. That's something that a child would do as well. They would be more along the lines of being peaceful and ensure that everything is a-okay and that they're not harming others too. But otherwise, more information as far as this creature and some of the encounters. Those are in turn a little bit more elusive, again, because of the rare nature of this creature. But many of those accounts do come from those local residents in and around that area. They include residents that are out there both hunting, fishing, and otherwise exploring that wilderness area. But they in turn see this creature. They again describe it as a tall, furry figure, and then it has these glowing eyes, has ape-like but human-like features, and then there it is running across the dense forest, and then otherwise having a very hard time for people to spot it outright. But when they do, they just see those fleeting glances in other cases. But yeah, hunters, fishermen, hikers, and so on, those are the ones that run into it, at least visually. And then, of course, there's the idea I mentioned earlier where you can hear it in the far off distance. Also, some people have found footprints associated with the Urayuli, and that again indicates its existence, that it has a home somewhere around there. And then that way they in turn are able to be aware that they're within that specific territory. There's also the idea that this is a tale, a warning for other children. Obviously being out there in the wilderness, you have to be very, very careful if you're an adult. But again, imagine if you're a child. So the idea is if you see this Urayuli, it's again a warning for any children to be very careful out there in the wilderness and to not get lost. Because if they do, especially in those areas of southeastern, southwestern Alaska, then that's when they'll be turned into this Urayuli. So again, it's a moment more like a symbol, a cautionary tale in terms of its existence. And then finally, one last thing associated with this creature that stood out that was pretty neat. It's the idea that it's actually within a card game. In fact, you're looking at it now. This is a card game, a horror game that's known as Inscription. And guess what? This Urayuli is given the distinction of being the rarest card within that entire game. I have no idea how this game plays out, like what you do and how you get this card, but it's considered very, very rare, very expensive, whatever that means in terms of the context of the game, to play. But apparently when you do use the card, it does enough damage to defeat any card and to win against any other player using it. So its health is apparently 7, its power is 7, and its cost is 4, whatever that means. So those of you that have played this game, again, it's called Inscription. Let me know, post it in the comments below if you know more information about this game and how to do it. Are there other cryptids on there too? The fact that you have a Urayuli just doesn't seem very random. It seems purposeful. So it makes me wonder if there's other cryptids on there as well, what their levels are. But either way, this one is the most powerful one within the entire game itself. But that's it. That's pretty much all the info I could find associated with this mysterious and mythical creature. Let me know again in the comments, those of you that are in Alaska. If you have more info, post them below. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.